Hi, my name is Katie Hedlund. I'm a theater and psychology major at Georgia College, and this is my presentation for the research project that I did. Basically, while I was reading the unit and the chapters, especially in the beginning, I was really focusing on, what am I going to do for this research presentation? I had it in the back of my mind. I kind of knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't totally sure. And, as I was reading the chapters, I was like, well, I kind of want to do something more in the early times because I find the history of theater very interesting, which is very appropriate for this class, but rather the early history, just because it's very, very different from what we have going on today, because, it had to evolve over time, so it's naturally going to be a lot different back centuries and centuries ago than it is today. So as I was reading, I was really intrigued, especially by the Rome and Greece. I was really intrigued by the costumes that they had going on back then, especially the masks. I found those very interesting because they were very, like I said, very different from what we have going on today. And I really found the masks intriguing because, we don't really use masks today. We do if we're playing like an animal or something that requires a mask, but from what I've experienced, I've actually don't think I've ever worn a mask for a performance, nor have I really seen masks used that often. So I thought it was cool to look into something that is no longer used heavily today. So I researched a lot of the masks and what went into them, the different elements, the different types, and I decided that I wanted to be creative, obviously, and create a mask that incorporated all of those elements. So here it is. You can see the whole thing. Yeah, this is what I ended up creating based on the research that I found. One of the articles, well, I used quite a few sources for this, including, the book. One of the articles that I read was titled Roman Masks. It was obviously talked about Rome and the masks that were used there and a lot of the different elements and the purpose behind those elements that went into all the masks. And it talked about, for example, how they were color-coded, which I thought was really cool. It said that brown was typically used for men and white was typically used for women, or female characters and male characters, rather. So I thought that was cool, and obviously I decided to incorporate that into my own masks, and I made mine white because I'm a female, and I just thought that that would be more appropriate than brown. So yes, I definitely incorporated this into my mask. In addition, I used another article called Comedy Tragedy Mask Graphics. It discussed more of the Greece side of masks, and what they were made of, how they were made, what kind of things went in to the masks that were created. One of the things that, like I said, I talked about materials that were used, and it mentioned clay, it mentioned linen, it mentioned wood even, and I wanted to incorporate that into mine, so I made mine out of linen. I don't know if you can tell that from the presentation, but yes, I made it out of linen, and I put quite a few layers on to make sure that it covered the whole thing and that it was looking as best as it could look. The article also talked about how many of the masks had a wig that covered the entire head because they really wanted to get into character and to really evolve into that character and not just, have a mask that covers your face and that's it. So they had a wig that went, like, very much around the back and on the sides, so I incorporated that into my own mask as well. I sewed this on, and it covers the sides, the back, the other side. It's made out of yarn, and so I had to sew on each individual strand, so as you can imagine, that took quite a while to sew all these on, and it was hand sewn. I really wanted to have it cover the whole thing and really make it true to this time period and true to the culture and history of the masks. The articles that I just mentioned also talked about the openings in the eyes, or the eyes and the mouth, sorry, for the mask, and how they were rather large Most of the time they wanted them big so that not only could the expression be seen better, but they could be seen from and heard as well from the back of the auditorium or the theater that they were in. So I tried to mimic that as well. I tried to make larger openings, and I really tried to get it to look like a mask from this time period would look. Another article I used was called Greek masks, and it also touched on the concept of large eyes and large mouth and the importance of it. And it really mostly was a website of images that I used to reference to create this mask. It showed different types. It showed comedy. It showed tragedy, and I tried to settle on tragedy. And because, as cool as I think the comedy ones are, especially Commedia dell'arte, they are very, very exaggerated and very cool looking. For some reason, I'm more inclined towards tragedy. I think because, it's not the typical happy-go-lucky play or really storyline that sometimes we tend to see today. So I think I find more fascination and more character development that I find interesting in the tragic plays and the tragic masks and things like that. So I really wanted to create a tragic mask, and I tried to mimic the facial expressions that those image shows in the source I just mentioned, how they were curved at the top and more flat on the bottom, and really made it look like a frown. And I tried to put a sad expression in the eyes to not, have a more pointed downward so that it looks more, sad and tragic. And that's what I really aimed for in this mask. And I'm really proud of it. I think I did the best that I could do. And I also added this headband onto the mask. As you can see, it goes down both sides. And really that was just my personal touch. I thought this mask was cool, but I really wanted to add something that was personal and that I liked, especially, and not just, the mask itself. So, I found this headband at Joann's, plus, to me it kind of represents the ideology we have of Rome and Greece during this time. It's gold, it has that look to it, and I thought it was really cool to add. So yeah, I really enjoyed this project. I learned quite a lot, and, I really aimed to not just create one specific play mask or one specific cultural mask. I really wanted to combine all the elements that I read about from Rome and Greece and really put it into one mask, and, create a mask that I was proud of, a mask that could be used for, maybe more than one play, more than one different style. And it's also very simple, which I liked, because you can add things to it. It's not so out there and so exaggerated and so grotesque that it can only be used for one thing. I really wanted to make it a universal and adaptable mask that had more than one purpose. And, all in all, I'm really proud of it. It took me a while, and, it wasn't really the easiest thing to create, but it was really fun. And like I said, I got a lot out of it. I learned things about the early theater and the early masks that I didn't know before, and it was really cool to be able to create my own mask and to really just put myself into something. And like I said, I'm really proud of it. So I hope you guys liked the mask and liked the presentation, and good luck with all of you on your own. Thank you.